The movie opens as one of the digital beings stirs awake inside a vast grid of glowing code. He looks around, bewildered, before spotting an object marked Dillinger system. The moment he picks it up, a calm yet powerful voice greets him. The creator appears before him, explaining that he was built as a security program for the Dillinger system, a guardian, a weapon, a mine of order and control. From that day, he will be known as the Master Controller. He will be known as ARES. The scene shifts. Eve, the brilliant CEO of Encom, speeds down an empty highway on her motorbike, the wind slicing past as she races toward a secret base tucked far from civilization. Once there, she opens an old video file, footage of her late sister Tess. The sight brings back a flood of emotions. Tess once dated Kevin Flynn and dreamed of changing the world alongside Eve. But that dream ended too soon. As Eve wipes her tears, her colleague Seth walks in. She's been working non-stop to unlock something revolutionary, the permanent code. She slides a disk into her system and begins decoding. Elsewhere, Julian Dillinger, Encom's rival, and head of the competing tech empire, addresses his board of directors. Confident and ambitious, he reveals a new experiment, a bridge between the digital realm and the physical world. Wearing sleek black shades, the board members watch as Julian powers up his device. A flash of light fills the room, and in an instant, a massive battle tank materializes from thin air. But he's not done. From the same beam steps a soldier, armored, precise, and alive. "Meet ARES," Julian says proudly. He tells them this soldier is an AI, completely under his control, and entirely expendable. If one falls, he'll simply create another. The board is stunned, awestruck by the power they just witnessed. Later, as the board departs, Julian's mother, Elizabeth, speaks with him privately. ARES remains in the background, silent and still, until suddenly, both he and the tank vanish into particles of light. Julian sighs in frustration. That's the flaw he can't solve. ARES can't stay in the real world for more than 29 minutes before disintegrating. Elizabeth warns her son of what will happen if the board discovers his failure. Inside the grid, ARES awakens once more, back where he began, trapped in the digital void. Meanwhile, at Enko, Eve and Seth are still hard at work. Then, a spark of excitement. Eve looks at the data on her monitor and realizes she's done it. She's found the permanent code. To test it, she teleports a small tree from the digital world into reality, setting a timer for 29 minutes to see if it holds. As they wait, deep in the grid, ARES is haunted by Julian's words, expendable. His second-in-command, Athena, greets him warmly, asking about his experience in the real world. But even she can sense the weight in his silence. Elsewhere, Ajay, another Enko executive, prepares to unveil their new game Space Paranoids to a cheering crowd. He tries to reach Eve but gets no response. Back in the lab, the timer hits 29 minutes, and the tree is still standing. Eve can hardly believe it. She's cracked the code. For the first time, a digital object remains stable in the physical world. At the same time, Julian begins hacking into Enko systems. He's convinced Eve must have found what he couldn't, the key to permanence. His mother warns him to stop, but he's already gone too far. He commands ARES and his army to invade the Enko grid, to breach the user core, and to extract Eve's personal files. In the digital expanse, alarms blare as one of Enkom's employees detects the breach. Ajay starts his presentation to the eager fans, unaware of the silent war unfolding beneath the surface. Within the grid, ARES leads his soldiers through shimmering corridors toward the user core. Once there, he connects to the system and begins downloading Eve's files while Julian watches from his console, ecstatic as the stolen data flows in. Enko retaliates, launching their own digital defenders to intercept. As the battle rages, ARES pauses mid-hack when he hears a recording of Eve giving a speech. Something in her voice strikes him. But duty calls, he finishes the extraction. Before they can retreat, Enkom's programs surround them, and a fierce fight breaks out. During the chaos, Caius, one of ARES' most loyal soldiers, is critically damaged. Athena insists they leave him behind, but ARES refuses, charging back to save him. From the real world, Julian sees this and decides to erase the evidence. He launches a digital bomb, detonating it inside the grid. The blast destroys everything. Later, the programs reconstitute, all except Caius. When ARES demands to know why his friend wasn't restored, Julian coldly replies that Caius was dysfunctional and therefore expendable. ARES says nothing, but the look in his eyes speaks volumes. Moments later, Ajay calls Julian, suspecting him of causing the security breach. Julian, of course, denies everything. Meanwhile, Eve and Seth drive back to the city, exhilarated by their success. Seth hands her a phone full of missed calls. Ajay finally reaches her, congratulating her on cracking the permanent code. It's been 4 hours, and the teleported tree still hasn't vanished, the proof she needed. But Ajay warns her about the earlier breach and his suspicion that Julian might be behind it. Luckily, the permanent code itself isn't online. Eve had stored it safely in a hard drive. Inside the grid, ARES accesses Eve's user file and watches her entire life unfold. Her birthdays, her research, the painful moment Tess was diagnosed with cancer, and her eventual death. Julian watches too, realizing Eve has landed somewhere nearby. Eve arrives in the city, racing toward Enko on her motorbike while Seth follows behind the car. Julian makes a desperate move. Determined to retrieve the code, he reactivates Ares and Athena, giving them a single mission: intercept Eve's bike and bring her to him. They have 29 minutes before disintegration. The digital soldiers manifest in the real world, mount their sleek light bikes, and begin the pursuit. Eve soon notices the glowing trails behind her. She's being followed. She accelerates, weaving through traffic as sirens wail behind them. Police try to intervene, but their cars are no match for the speeding light bikes, which slice through vehicles like lasers through glass. Eve dashes through the city streets until she reaches the top of a high-rise, hiding in the shadows. Athena is the first to find her, ascending the building at high speed, but Eve acts fast, sending her own bike crashing down into Athena and knocking her off the edge. Gasping, Eve checks her jacket to make sure the hard drive is still there. It is. But when she looks down again, Athena is gone and running toward her. Eve quickly jumps onto Athena's bike and speeds off. Ares spots her from afar and gives chase. The pursuit tears through the city, sparks flying as their light bikes clash. Despite the destruction, Ares does everything he can not to harm civilians. Julian, watching the timer tick down, switches to Plan B. The chase reaches its climax when both bikes collide and explode, hurling Eve and Ares through the air. Eve scrambles to her feet and runs until she reaches the edge of a river. Nowhere left to go. She takes out the hard drive, smashes it, and throws the fragments into the water. Ares catches up to her as a helicopter lands nearby, carrying Julian's men. "Who are you?" Eve asks, breathless. "I am the Master Controller," he replies. Her eyes widen. She finally understands he's a program brought into reality. The timer hits 0. Ares and Athena begin to dissolve into particles of light, fading from existence. One of Julian's operatives fires a strange weapon at Eve, and in a flash, she disintegrates too. Back at Dillinger Systems, Elizabeth confronts her son, furious over the chaos he's unleashed. But Julian, staring coldly at the fading data streams, simply murmurs, "The end will justify the means." Inside the digital grid, light ripples through the data streams as all the destroyed programs begin to reform. Among them is Eve, reborn not as human, but as a program herself. The moment she materializes, soldiers surround her, demanding access to the permanent code. But since she destroyed the drive, the only way to retrieve it now is through her, which would erase her existence completely. Athena orders the soldiers to capture her, but Ares steps forward, blocking their path. He insists on speaking to his creator first. Opening a channel to Julian, he asks what their next move should be. Julian, cold and impatient, commands him to delete Eve from the carrier and extract the code from her remains. Ares hesitates. It feels wrong. When he questions the order, Julian snaps, speaking to him like a disobedient machine. That's the moment Ares makes his choice. Defying his master, Ares cuts the connection and orders Athena to stand down until further instructions. Then, turning to Eve, he asks quietly, "Can I trust you?" "Yes," she replies. But their moment doesn't last. Athena secretly reports Ares' disobedience to Julian, claiming he's malfunctioning. Furious, Julian gives a new order: delete them both. In seconds, armed programs surround Ares and Eve. But Ares hurls an energy disk that knocks the attackers back, sending them plummeting off the platform. He summons a light vehicle, and together, he and Eve race through the glowing grid, desperate to escape. As they speed through the neon pathways, Ares explains their plan. They're heading for the transfer portal. If they reach it in time, Eve's human body can be reconstituted in the real world. But there's one condition. Once there, she must help him unlock the permanent code so he can exist outside the grid forever. They reach the portal, and in a flash of light, both materialize in the real world once again. Alarms blare across Dillinger Systems as Julian realizes what's happened. He warns everyone to evacuate. Moments later, Ares storms in, taking down security forces one by one. But his timer is ticking. Less than 28 minutes remain. With no time to waste, he leaves with Eve to retrieve the code before he fades away again. Meanwhile, Julian refuses to accept defeat. He resurrects Athena into the real world, declaring her the new Master Controller. He hands her a weapon and a sleek aerial craft, commanding her to hunt down Ares and Eve and erase them both by any means necessary. Ares and Eve, on the run, pull up at a small gas station. While refueling, Eve borrows a worker's phone and contacts Seth, urging him to meet them at Enko. As they drive away, Athena scans the skies, her sensors sweeping the earth below. Eve and Ares switch to a faster car and speed toward Enko, where Seth is already waiting. With only minutes left, they begin preparing a laser that will send Ares back into the Enko grid. Once inside, he'll locate the permanent code, and when he finds it, Eve will use the laser to bring him back into the real world for good. The laser hums to life, but before they can activate it, Athena descends from the sky. She doesn't attack immediately. Instead, she waits, knowing Ares' time is almost up. Ares realizes what she's doing. Without hesitation, he abandons the plan and charges toward her. His body begins to glitch. Time's up. Eve hits the switch, and in an instant, Ares is converted into pure light and sent into the Enko grid. Athena, seeing him vanish, lashes out. She attacks Eve and Seth, destroying the laser and dragging Eve toward her own device, intending to send her back to Julian's grid. Eve fights back, but Athena pins her down, weapon ready. Just then, the building's sprinkler system bursts to life. Water pours from the ceiling, an alien sensation to Athena, who freezes in confusion. That single distraction is enough. Her time expires, and she disintegrates into streaks of data, leaving her weapon behind. Eve exhales in relief and tells Seth to prepare. Athena will return. Meanwhile, Ares awakens inside the Enko grid. He meets a local program who offers to help guide him to the permanent code. Back in the real world, Athena manages to reintegrate herself without Julian's authorization, this time bringing an army with her. Julian panics as his mother, Elizabeth, arrives with devastating news. The board has stripped him of power and placed her in charge. She orders the entire program to be terminated. Before she can act, Athena senses the threat and strikes, stabbing Elizabeth through the chest. Julian watches in horror. Why, he asks. Athena's cold reply. I was following your orders, capture Eve by any means necessary. Then she turns and departs, leaving Julian behind. Frantic, he attempts to shut down the system, but it's too late, he's already lost control. Inside the grid, Ares stops suddenly as the surroundings shift. He realizes he's inside the legendary Flynn server. There, standing before him, is Kevin Flynn himself, the creator of Tron. Shocked, Ares asks how he's still alive. Flynn smiles softly. Because of you, he says. Flynn explains that fragments of his consciousness survive through Ares' existence. When Ares tells him about his mission, Flynn nods and retrieves the permanent code, placing it in Ares' hand. Back in the real world, chaos unfolds. Athena and her troops arrive at Enko, leaving destruction in their wake. Ajay enters the ruined office stunned, as Eve and Seth frantically work to repair the damaged laser to bring Ares home. Outside, civilians flee as Athena's army marches through the streets. Eve realizes they're after her. Without hesitation, she steps out to face them, hoping to buy Seth and Ajay time. Fighter jets swoop overhead, firing missiles at Athena's ship. She intercepts them midair, detonating the bombs before they hit. Then she generates an energy barrier, trapping Eve inside. More jets arrive, raining down fire, but Athena's defenses are fierce. One blast tears through part of her ship, destroying several troops, but leaving her determined to finish the mission. Meanwhile, Flynn's program activates the transfer portal. Go, he tells Ares. Bring balance. Ares steps into the portal and ascends back into the real world, this time permanently. Athena, transforming part of her ship into a massive armored truck, captures Eve and speeds toward the portal, planning to send her back to Julian's grid for deletion. Just then, Ares appears, emerging from the light in spectacular fashion. He hurls his weapon, smashing into the truck and sending it tumbling across the street. At Enko, Ajay hacks into Julian's servers, struggling to regain control of the corrupted systems. Ares rushes to Eve's side, checking if she's hurt. Before she can answer, Athena reappears. Her time is nearly up, but she refuses to stop. She summons 2 soldiers to help her finish Ares, promising to deal with Eve later. The battle erupts in a storm of glowing strikes and crashing energy. Ares fights ferociously, taking down the soldiers before turning his full power on Athena. The two clash one last time, and finally her system destabilizes. She screams in defiance before dissolving into light. At that same moment, Ajay successfully seizes control of Julian's servers, shutting down all hostile programs. The war is over. Police burst into the Dillinger facility to arrest Julian, but he makes one final choice. Instead of surrendering, he digitizes himself, merging permanently into his own creation. As calm settles over the city, Ares stands beneath the sunrise, free at last. No longer bound by orders, no longer a weapon. Just himself. He looks out at the world, a faint smile crossing his face. For the first time, the Master Controller belongs to no one. And with that, the story of Tron, ARES comes to a close. Kindly subscribe for more movie recap like this. Thanks for watching and goodbye.